experience these same things about being in a beautiful landscape and feeling otherworldly. That's the sort of aspect I like to capture, the unexpected, the things that we don't normally see in the ocean.
Do you want to tell us what that is?
That is a very small and tight close-up of the mouth of a sea anemone. It's the size of perhaps your thumbnail, that section, so I had to get really, really close to this anemone before it closed up. Anemones they have their tentacles in their mouth in the middle, and once they get concerned, they start closing up, and I captured this just before it closed up, and I was really taken by the textures, the colours, the pattern, even the landscape at that very tiny scale. And I don't know if you've experienced this when taking photographs or making an artwork where you have a vision in your mind and you said, that's it, that's what I want to capture, and this is what happened. But, yep, I want to capture this, it worked. And it's one of those wow moments when they all come together and you actually end up with the vision that you wanted to create. The other thing, when I'm thinking about the creative aspects of my photography, the theme that I keep coming back to and the one that constantly inspires me is the intersection of light, water and animals underwater. And I try to capture this, and I never get tired of trying to take a better photograph or a different one that represents those intersection of those three elements. And they're the things to me that really motivate me. And to take photographs like this, which is around dawn or dusk is the best time for me to be underwater in terms of the colours and the way the light penetrates the seawater, and I try and depict that in as many different ways that I never tire of looking for different ways to depict what I think is a really beautiful part of the ocean, and that people might not normally see, or to represent it in a way that is not normally represented. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit now about science, because I'm a scientist. And one thing we like to do as scientists is to make up definitions, to explain really as a way of communicating, to make sure there's no misunderstanding about what we're talking about. If we can define something very clearly, it removes any ambiguity, so you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this is what science is. For me, science, and this is I guess a generally accepted definition, it's a process of learning and of observing, gathering information about the way that nature works. It's a creative quest to understand and therefore explain the world around us, around nature and the bigger universe. And that, to be able to do that, it's a creative quest. And the way we do it is by, again, we as scientists, we like to not only define but structure things and say, in order to do good science, these are the steps that it takes. And if you follow these steps, you'll be following the scientific method, and you can be sure that the information and the understanding that you produce is rigorous. A core fundamental principle of science is rigorousness and observations and understanding that is repeatable and has evidence backing it up. That we're not just making claims about the way nature works or about the way the universe operates, but we are reporting observations that are supported by objective evidence that could be repeated by anyone else who uses the same methods we do. And a core part of this is communication. To me, science is not complete unless it's communicated. And part of that communication is it's reviewed by our peers to make sure it is rigorous and it does fulfil what the definition of good science is, and then we communicate it not only to each other, to other scientists, but to the broader community. And to me, this is a really important part of science, is communicating it to the whole community, not just to other scientists. So the whole creative aspect of science involves new insights into the way the universe operates, and we can characterise these creative moments by these really big shifts in understanding that science can produce. Evolution by natural selection, for example, was a really big paradigm shift in our understanding about the way the world operates. The discovery of black holes, the double helix structure of DNA. They fundamentally changed our understanding about the universe and the world around us. And creativity in science happens, and again, this is something other scientists love to do, is to say, okay, let's work out where the best creative moments happen and what sort of environment you have to provide to allow creativity to blossom. And it includes things like being immersed in a problem for a long period of time. That will lead to a creative insight without distractions. Having the opportunity to just immerse yourself in a problem for a long period of time will lead to creative insights. Being prepared to confront and disagree with accepted norms, accepted knowledge, that's another step that will provide a bigger creative leap. Having that mindset that allows you to actually be critical of accepted knowledge, to bring differing points of view together. That's another framework that will provide creative leaps forward. And again, if we go back to this step process in science, the ones I've put in yellow here are where we think the real creative moments occur. These are about really making an observation first, about seeing something that happens in the world that no one had either noticed before or thought was important, making that first observation, and then thinking about or having the insight to ask the question that maybe no one had asked before or thought of a different way, and formulating a hypothesis, an explanation for that, and testing it, coming up with an experiment or a way of observing that no one has thought of before, that has, again, a creative aspect to it, and then communicating that in a very creative way. So there's lots of opportunities in this whole scientific method for creativity to express itself. And it might seem like a very formulaic approach, a very structured approach to understanding the world, but that's part of its beauty and that's part of its rigorousness. But it also does have moments where there's great opportunities for great creativity to occur. And so just for me to sum up, I really like these definitions of science, about what it involves. The feeling of awed wonder that science can give us is one of the highest experiences of which the human psyche is capable. It is a deep and steady passion to rank with the finest that music and poetry can deliver. And this is what we as scientists, and I often feel like, when you see a great experiment or a great scientific outcome, you go, wow, that's amazing. It's a transcendent experience to see, well, my awareness of the universe has expanded that much more than it was 3 minutes ago, because I now know something that I didn't before, and it makes the universe seem like a much more amazing place than it did before. To me, that's a very mind-shifting, transcendent experience, similar to what my experience would be looking at a great piece of art, reading a wonderful story, listening to an amazing piece of music. Provides, to me, at least the same experience. There's real poetry in the real world, and I really love this. Science is the poetry of reality, that exposes that poetry that's there in the world around us. And I'd now like to hand over to my colleague.